What's up, everybody? It's your boy Ryan, and this is the Thunder Channel on Nootropics. Welcome to the Cortex Labs Nootropics podcast. Going to talk about nootropic effect improvement from energy baseline optimizations. Okay, so improving the effect of nootropics, pretty multifold and in a significant enough way where you're like, wow, this is actually a drastic improvement from when I normally take this nootropic. After I've improved my energy baseline, this nootropic is affecting me way better. And I'm going to give you a case study. In the meantime, with Sports broadcasts, a couple epic products. And by the way, for the whole kind of holiday season up through Christmas and into the new year, it'll end just after New Year, everything on livecortex.com is 20% off. 20% off the Cortex stack, 20% off Nootropics Ground Zero, 20% off Nootropics Masterclass, 20% off Viking Testosterone Protocol, 20% off the 3.5-month and the 6-month hands-on, results-driven, one-on-one brain engineering consults. So the nootropic and brain optimization consults that I'm doing with business people, those are 20% off too. All you have to do is use the coupon code 20 at livecortex.com, and the website will automatically take 20% off whatever it is that you buy. If you buy digital guides, which are actually super cheap as it is, you get them even cheaper. If you decide to go on a 3.5-month or a 6-month course with me to fully optimize brain performance, energy markers, whatever lab work that we can improve, but on top of that, building sustainable, tailored nootropic stacks for your brain, setting up an effective rotation schedule, and everything else that's included, those are 20% off as well. So use the coupon code 20. Go shop. Go get some good nootropics gear, nootropic stuff, nootropic stack. The Cortex stack is just incredible. I took 2 capsules just about 30 minutes ago, and I am on fire and verbally fluent. Coupon code 20, livecortex.com. Okay, so let me just explain the basic concept and give you a preface. Look, I mean, there are so many things that you can do that will discourage a healthy baseline, an energy baseline. That is the status of your energy normally. And when you'll notice that when you do those things, like drink alcohol or something, the night before, and then you wake up and you're not necessarily hungover, but you sort of feel it, you will notice that nootropics have a different effect, a lesser effect. I had done some experiments really just specifically to see about alcohol, how much I could get away with drinking the night before, and then what if I could actually take nootropics and remedy how I felt the next day. And it turns out I really couldn't. I had to eat a fatty meal, take a nap if I was actually hungover, go to the gym, and then I would take a nootropic stack and everything would be fine. But if I were to take a stack after drinking the next day, it literally wouldn't kick in for like an hour and a half, and then finally kick in and it'd be like half as effective as it normally is, okay? So that's just the basic preface. When you optimize, though, energy baseline, this could be optimizing cortisol, it could be optimizing vitamin D, it could be optimizing your B vitamins, it could be optimizing thyroid function, it could be optimizing testosterone. It certainly is optimizing your sleep. When you pay attention to those things and you actually are effective at optimizing those markers, your effect from nootropics completely changes. Meaning, you can take modafinil, and instead of like it wearing off at 5 p.m. and then you're tired, you actually have energy up until 10 p.m. and you get quadruple the amount done that you usually do. You could take a trio racetam stack with some teacrine and some theanine. And instead of it being 2.5 hours or 3 hours of pretty good brain performance, it's 5 hours of exceptional brain performance. You could take a strictly energy stack of Alcar, dynamine, teacrine, theobromine, a little bit of theanine to balance it out. And instead of it giving you, some good stimulation, allowing you to get some work done, you get 6 hours of work done. It's a big difference. So I want to break down a specific example of a business person that Cortex Labs is working with on a 3.5-month capacity doing consulting, and explain his particular situation prior to coming to working with us, what his energy baseline ultimately was from some of the things that he was doing, what we did to change it, and how now the response to nootropics is substantially greater. So number one, the person was on a VLC diet for many months prior. VLC diet. VLC stands for very low carb. It's a very trendy diet. It has been and goes under really many names for a considerable period of time, kind of in the blogosphere, the health blogosphere. It's the keto diet, it's the paleo diet, it's the low carb diet, right? Some people take it to extremes and eliminate carbohydrates almost completely, with the exception of perhaps a small serving of vegetables per day. And in some days, no vegetables whatsoever. You're just eating beef, you're just eating eggs, you're just eating avocados, you're just eating basically fat sources. Now, it could be a great way to lose weight because ultimately you're removing a large macronutrient in your diet, carbohydrates, and a giant calorie source. Carbohydrates tend to be calorically dense, and so that is why you lose weight. It can give you some brain energy because you're converting the fat that you're eating in your diet to be used for energy as sort of an emergency necessity for energy. I mean, that's really what that is. We have to call that what it is. That's what your brain is doing. It's like, I need energy, I don't have glucose, so I'm going to use fat. And it can certainly crank up brain performance for a certain period of time. But over time, as we've come to learn, and a lot of us experimenting with it in the blogosphere, and also really looking at the literature that isn't cherry-picked, that tends to tank adrenal hormones, thyroid hormones, tends to mess with your salt-water balance. That's why people always say take electrolytes. It's not sustainable. Tanks testosterone, it'll make your workouts crappy eventually. There's a lot of things. Could also really fuss with your gut because you need carbs for gut bacteria. So this guy was on VLC, and it lowered energy baseline pretty substantially. He came to me in a place where midday exhaustion, and then after the workday, exhaustion was like the story of his life. Somewhere around 1, 2 p.m., this exhaustion would kick in, and he really wouldn't have the energy to pursue executing work for the remaining 3 or 4 hours of work. So he kind of just got by. And then after closing the business and going home to his family, he had no energy. No energy to spend with the family, no energy to do any brain work at night. His biggest issue was work at night, like administrative work, and then being present for his wife and his 4 kids. This guy's got 4 kids. So obviously he needs energy. So, of course, I needed lab work to show me exactly what was sluggish. I mean, look, I had an idea of what was going on: adrenal hormones, thyroid panel, maybe test, etc. Ultimately, there's an energy deficiency in mitochondria. General energy production and signaling gets kind of downregulated when you're only eating fat over time. So the lab work showed the following. Lab work showed sluggish T4 levels, that's a thyroid marker, nearly deficient vitamin D status, which is terrible and disastrous, especially nowadays. It showed testosterone was in the 500 to 515, call it, range, which could definitely be improved, but is really not good. I mean, you're only a couple hundred nanograms per deciliter away from being deficient at that point. And then cortisol was in range, but on the low side. And aldosterone. Aldosterone is a saltwater balance signaling adrenal hormone. That when it's in low quantities, you sort of tend to waste salt. It's a salt wasting syndrome where you urinate salt out excessively. You have heightened urea, messed up sort of kidney, creatinine, nitrogen. All these things are indicative of an adrenal issue. So, and then on top of that, like the sort of symptomatic things wrong were this baseline energy issue. So what we did was we put client on a regimen of vitamin D, 10 KIU a day. And by the way, that's not too much. The studies actually point to anything above 60, you could potentially be running into issues someday. So 10 KIU is a safe bet for vitamin D as long as no other weird things are going on like autoimmune disorders and whatever. So that can make it worse. Put him on a regimen of simply licorice root, nature's way licorice root, to help the kind of building block of cortisol, helping cortisol to stay around. That helped substantially over time. I mean, that alone helps substantially over time with energy levels. And then moving to testosterone, we put him on a regimen of Cistanche, herbal earthy powder, upregulates testicular enzymes that make you make test. Pine pollen, which is essentially raw androgens, just kind of in plant form. It'll give you a good boost in free testosterone. Boron, which has some sex hormone binding globulin modifying properties to it. It also allows you to make more free tests, gives you a little more energy. I had him eating carbohydrates. I had him bring carbohydrates back into the mix, and not a substantial amount of them, believe it or not. You don't need a whole lot from that position to start getting better. You just need to add 100 grams on top of what you're eating, maybe 150, 120, somewhere in that range, and you'll be okay, to function awesomely. And then I had him dial his workouts down just a little bit, because in that state, when you have a low energy baseline and you're trying to push yourself for, working out because you're stubborn and you're an achiever, which, look, a lot of us are perfectionists, it can really, really fuss with your energy, and it puts you in a place where it's just diminishing returns. You might gain muscle or whatever, but ultimately you're just chipping away at that reserve of energy, and you're really not allowed, your body doesn't allow you to heal. It's like having a broken arm and then kind of constantly fussing with it and lifting things. You have to let it heal. This took, on that regimen, just about a month and a half to show substantial results. But mind you, after about 3 weeks, he was already responding better to stacks. But taking it to a month and a half, this was the results on nootropics. So we had set up, at that point, some stacks that we finalized, meaning stacks that we had gone through the adjustment process with and made extremely good to the point where we know, like, all right, we can set these aside, and when they take them, they work effectively for what that person needs to do in the workday. All of those stacks that we had established and finalized, in each of the tables where these stacks are put down on a document when people work with us, there's a results section, and the results section goes, hey, 1 to 10, my verbal fluency was this, my motivation was this, my energy was this, etc. Every single marker on the table in the results section from every single one of the stacks that we had established improved. And I know this because I usually have people explain things on a scale of 1 to 10, or explain it in the best way that they can if they're not doing a scale, to make me understand what's going on. Good, 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 great, 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 super awesome, or extreme, or the stack didn't really hit well. These stacks were going from good to insane. They were going from 6.5 to 11 on the scale, just to give you an idea. Like, we'd have a particular example which really kind of highlights this of armodafinil. Okay, we figured out a really good armodafinil, dynamine, teacrine, theanine stack for this user, and look, it was providing benefit. But once we optimize all these energy baseline markers, instead of the modafinil or the armodafinil allowing this person to get 5-6 hours of work completed, and then after which he was completely spent and almost felt way below baseline, the guy lasted up until 10-11 p.m. working, spending time with family, using his brain, experiencing life, right, and soaking things up till 10 p.m. from just that stack. And I don't have people take Afinils or Afinil analogs after 11 a.m. in the morning, okay? So we're talking about a long effect duration window, almost 12 hours, whereas previously it was 6 at best and then tanked energy after. It was 11 hours now with insane energy still. Like, guy was like, dude, I could just stay up until 2 and work, but I know I don't want to do that because it'll fuss with my sleep. And then ultimately ended up sleeping fine. This is like a perfect example, case in point, that when you fix things that make your energy crappy at its baseline, your response to nootropics is going to be substantially different. Imagine how many people and how many of you might be taking nootropics, but there are things wrong with your blood work. Your blood work and your hormone markers and the rest of your biology, there are things wrong, or things that could be optimized. Imagine what the response to nootropics has been. I want to emphasize, this is so important. It's so important. And the responses you get from nootropics, like, if you think they're good now, wait till you make your body function like a well-oiled machine and then you take nootropics. It's an entirely different world. You get to be Bradley Cooper every day. Like, on cue, you get to function in ways that should be illegal. It's a whole nother level of brain function. Like, because at your energy baseline being good, you feel awesome anyway. Yeah, like, you feel great anyway. Imagine taking that and then, like, strategically building upon that tailored nootropic stacks. You're a god at that point. You're a productivity beast, and it's insane. So I want to iterate for folks, look, It can be many things: vitamin D, testosterone for guys, cortisol, aldosterone, thyroid hormones. It could be B vitamins. It could be a lot of stuff, right, that is contributing to your energy baseline problems. You want to get pretty advanced lab work, as much on the blood that you can see, ranging from all those things to blood glucose to everything in between, so that you can actually identify what is on there and then start taking, applicable, like, practical steps to improve those blood markers. When you do, and it shouldn't take that much time, when you start giving your body the right things, I mean, you'd be surprised at what changes. Your response to nootropics is going to be significantly better. And you'll be like, wow, like, this is what it is to feel amazing all the time. I mean, look, you want to work toward having great energy baseline anyway. It's a necessity, actually, right? To just feel good at your baseline. Some days I don't even take nootropics. I just drink some coffee and I'm on my way. But other times, when I absolutely need that extra kick, my God, having a good energy baseline and then adding nootropics on top of it, I'm basically just a beast. And there's no amount of stuff that I can't get done. I work through things. I stay working. I stay on task. I'm focused. I feel better. I'm in flow more, and all the rest of that stuff. So highly encouraged. Improve your energy baseline. Go get blood work. Okay, read on how you can improve all these things. And the last thing I want to say, if you look at your blood work and everything looks fine, that literally means nothing. This guy's blood work, his doc goes, everything's in range, everything's good. Doctors tend to say that. It's not actually true, and it's sort of misleading, because you can have subclinical, problems where the blood work says everything's okay and you're in range, but ultimately you do have a deficiency. Like, you've got 36 nanograms per deciliter on vitamin D. Well, and doc says that's okay. Deficient is 32. You're deficient, man. You have to raise your vitamin D. Same thing with cortisol, same thing with aldosterone, same thing with B vitamins, same thing with thyroid levels, same thing with testosterone. Docs won't even give the reading sometimes. You'll get a reading of 354 nanograms per deciliter, which is low, borderline hypogonadal on testosterone. Doc will go, you're within range, your test is fine. And you're like, then you're sitting there like, well, what the hell is this problem? What is this energy issue? Part of it is your test, and you need the actual number, and you can raise it. So I hope I've hit home. I hope I've made my point. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Improve your energy baseline. Your response to nootropics is going to be significantly better if you do. LiveCortex.com for products right now through the holiday season. 20% off everything. That is the Cortex stack. That gets you Cortex super cheap. That is Nootropics Ground Zero, video course for people that are new to nootropics. It's 20% off right now. Coupon code 20. Nootropics Masterclass, a very, very highly advanced nootropics course. Give you a lot of stacks, show you a good framework for using nootropics, get you results that people get at the 6-year plus mark. 20% off, coupon code 20. Viking Testosterone Protocol, a protocol designed for you to raise your test as a guy. Cannot tell you how important it is. You'll also live longer if you have high test. That is very clear in the literature. Importantly, though, these consults that we do working with guys, where we get very, very strategic and specific and infuse what is at this point 15 years of nootropics usage and neuroscience study, practical application with people on a consulting capacity, into a time period where we fully optimize energy baseline, hormonal profile, testosterone profile, brain performance, using nootropics, research chemicals, supplements, whatever we have at our disposal, everything. We throw everything into the kitchen sink at this and make you perform awesomely. Those are 20% off. 3.5 months, 6 months. Brain engineering consults, 20% off right now. Coupon code is 20. Go do it at livecortex.com. I'm almost booked for the winter, but I have some slots open. So take advantage of them, because I want to send an email out to the email list too, and people probably pull the trigger on that. So if you've been thinking about doing it, go do it today at livecortex.com. Today, coupon code 20. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Talk to you next time.